Hello and welcome to our assembly for today. Now for today's assembly you are in my kitchen, which is a bit of an unusual place for me to be, but in a little bit I'm going to be making a bit of a mess and I need to be able to wash up afterwards. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a video. We were talking in the assembly on Wednesday about the Great Garden Birdwatch, and we talked about a range of different types of birds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some birds that I saw just as I left school the other day. So it was about 4:30 and I was driving through Wincham and I saw a massive flock of starlings. Now a flock of starlings swirling together in the air is called a murmuration. That's such a cool word. I love the word murmuration. It sounds really nice. And they fly in all sorts of unbelievable patterns. So have a quick look at this video of starlings flying in the sky above Wincham. Wasn't that amazing? It was absolutely fantastic to see. It was really exciting. So I just stood at the side of the road for a little while and just watched these starlings flying around. So this weekend is going to be the Great Garden Birdwatch, and you guys are going to be taking part in the Garden Birdwatch. And that helps the RSPB to know how many birds there are in the country and what sort of types of birds need a little bit of help. So in the assembly on Wednesday, I shared with you the bird feeding station that I've got at home and talked about the birds. And this morning I was being very naughty. I was being very distracted in a meeting. I was in a meeting. I've been working from home today and I was in my Google Meet and I kept kind of sliding off to the side like this because I was leaning out of the window to look, because there was a blue tit that kept going in and out of the bird box. And there's a feeder just outside the bird box, just by the side of it. And it was really exciting because that means that hopefully I will have a blue tit family living in the bird feeder in my garden, living in the bird box in my garden throughout the spring and summer. So what I want to do is I want to try and encourage the wildlife to come and live in my garden. So in order to do that, I need a couple of bits and bobs. Right, first of all, I've got some pots of different sizes. These are just old plant pots. And I've got some yoghurt pots as well. Okay, I've got some string. I've got some sticks that I picked up from the garden. I've got some lard. That's animal fat. Yum. And that's going to feel lovely when I scooched in my fingers. I've got some raisins and I've got some bird food. And I need one more thing. I need a pair of scissors. Hold on a moment. Right, I've got the scissors. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all is we are going to cut a hole in the top of the pot, okay, and the string is going to go through that. Don't do this if you're not sure how to do it. Grown-ups, don't let your children do it without a little bit of help. Make sure you don't put your fingers in the way of that sharp blade. Wiggle it round until you've got that hole in the top of your yogurt pot. And obviously your plant pots come with the holes in already. And then we get a piece of string, as long as you need it to be. Depends how long you want to hang it for. Thread it through. And then when you've got it like that, you tie one end around the end of the stick and you tie it really, 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 really tight. This assembly is also going to be my audition to be a Blue Peter presenter, doing their makes. What do you think? Should I audition for Blue Peter? So it will look like that when we've finished, but it needs to be full of bird food. So I'm going to do a second one, and I'm just going to do this one in a plant pot. So second piece of string, put it through the holes in the plant pot, and tie it round the end of the stick. Now I might have to do the other two that I've got after I've finished recording the video, and then I'll show you afterwards what they look like in my garden. So I've tied a nice tight double knot round there. The strings come out from the pot, so I'm just going to pop that back through there. Okay, so the birds would sit or grab hold of the stick there and reach through into there for the bird food. But what are they actually going to eat? Well, here is my mixing jug. Now, you can try this with a spoon, but it won't go well. So the best thing to do, and this is going to be amazing, you're going to love it, is to squelch it with your hands. And it feels all squidgy and gooey and messy. And oh, it's great fun. Yes, and you kind of squelch it all together like that. And you make a big squelchy blob. So, before you get your hands really mucky, I'm going to give my hands a bit of a wipe. Before you get your hands really mucky, you can pour in some of the raisins into the bird food to make that mix of stuff, because we're going to mix these in with our hands. And there's one of the yogurt pots trying to escape. I've got some bird food as well, which is going to go in there. And all that's going to mudge together to become bird food. Now, when I looked at the ingredients, the recipe, the instructions for doing this, when I looked at the instructions for doing this on the RSPB website, which is a great website, it suggests that you get the lard and you put it into pine cones. So if you've got pine cones in the park near you, you could go and collect some of those. That would be a really nice way to spend a bit of time if you're out for your daily exercise. And if you have them in your garden, you could pick them up. But I chose the plant pots because I don't have any that I'm aware of nearby to where I am. So it also says that you could put in whole peanuts. Now, obviously, if you've got whole peanuts, you need to be aware if you've got problems eating nuts, because we don't want you to be poorly. And it suggests that you put in grated cheese. And grated cheese would be a great one to do, because cheese is very fatty. And like we talked about in the assembly on Wednesday, that fat is really good for the birds to eat, because it keeps them with lots of energy. Now you can see that is a massive block of lard with loads of bird seed mixed into it, and the raisins as well. And probably I could get a little bit more bird food in that. So that's what I'm going to try. Pour a little bit more into the jar, into the jug, and then You can see the lard there, and you can just press it in and mix it in and then squeeze it with your hands. And honestly, just do this for the pleasure of squeezing it in your hands, because it's great. It feels lovely. You're gonna love doing this, guys. It's such good fun. Okay. And then you push it down into the jar like that. Push it down. And then turn it round and mix it all up again. And then do it again. Then you mix it all up again and again and again until it's all really, really well mixed in. So I think I'm pretty much sorted now. I've got this massive ball of bird food, raisins and lard, like that. And that is the bird's version of a really yummy meal. Think about your favourite meal. Might be Dad's roast chicken, or it might be, I don't know, going to McDonald's or whatever. This is the bird's version of that. So make sure I've got all of it. Now the next thing to do is to take that and to put it into the bird feeders. Okay, so I'm going to put that on the worktop. Hold the bird feeders like that so the string doesn't come out, and this is where it can go a little bit wrong, because if your string comes out you've got a problem. And then I'm just going to push it all in with my thumb. Break a bit off and push it into the plant pot. And then make sure that the stick sits on there like that. Make sure that nothing's coming out. And that is my bird feeder. So the only problem I have with that is that it's one on its own at the moment, and I need another one. So let's put a little bit more into my plant pot bird feeder this time. If you've got a plant pot bird feeder, that's absolutely fine. That's no problem at all. But it's a little bit better if you can use a yogurt pot, because then you can see how much is left in there. Otherwise you've got to go out and look at it. And when you've got your bird feeder outside, it's best if you don't go out and disturb it, because the birds don't like their food being disturbed. It would be like somebody coming up and taking your food off your plate. They don't want that. So make sure that's as full as it possibly can be. There we go. And there is my second bird feeder. So I've got a little bit left, so I'm going to have to find another yogurt pot and find where I put my scissors. Make my next hole in there very carefully, very safely again. Don't use the sharp scissors, please, because we don't want you guys having accidents. Get my string. Get my spare stick. Tie it round. And if you look closely, you can see how I've got all that lard and seeds stuck to my hands at the moment. It feels great. And then thread it through. So I've got my bird feeder like that, and push the rest of that into the plant pot. There we go. So, just about done. Now I've just got that little bit left over, and there's a tray on my bird feeder. I'm just going to put that on the tray on the bird feeder, because the birds will just come and take it from the tray, because they're greedy things. Okay, so next thing to do is, I ought to put those straight outside, but I'm not. I've got to clean up first. If you make the bird feeders at home with mums and dads, you've got to help clean up too. That's the rule. And that's what I expect you to do, because mums and dads aren't going to be doing this for you. So you need to help clean up. I'm going to clean up, and then I'm going to put these outside on my bird feeder, and I will show you what they look like. See you in a mo. Okay, so here we go. I'm back out in my garden and I have hung up my bird feeders. So here is the one by the side of the bird box that the blue tip was popping in and out of, and in the background, hanging from the tree, you can see the one in the plant pot, which means that hopefully the birds will be in the tree up there. Pop down, get some bird food from in there, and then come and have a bit more to eat. And then I've got another one hanging here next to the hanging basket, and one that I've hung off the bird station. Now, it's a good idea to hang them from a bird feeding station because we've got the suet balls and we've got the seeds and the worms that I showed you last time, but then we've got different types of food all in the same place. So hopefully around my garden there's all sorts of different types of food for the birds, which gives them a really varied diet. And the final thing is that leftover bit of bird food that I showed you that I put into a spare plant pot, and I'm going to pop that onto the tray so that it was the pigeons that I was watching earlier. They just sat on one of the bird feeders and they ate that bird food direct from the tray. So there you go, guys. Now what day is it today? Wednesday today. As I'm recording this, you'll see it on Friday, and on Saturday I'm going to pick an hour for part of the RSPB Birdwatch, Great Garden Birdwatch, and I'm going to sit in my garden, I'm going to get a cup of tea, and I'm going to watch the birds for an hour, and I'm going to count to see how many different varieties, how many different types there are that visit my garden, and see if they're sitting on the bird feeders and what they're doing. And that is the main point of doing this for me. So obviously I want to know all about the birds visiting my garden. I want to know that I'm looking after the nature that's around and about, because that's a nice thing to think of. But actually, something that's really, really important for me with this is that it means that I get to really appreciate the nature around me. We're in lockdown, we can't go out, we can't see our mates and do all of those things. So I'm going to sit and I'm going to really enjoy watching those birds, because it's something totally different. I don't get the time to do it normally. I don't get the chance. And for me, I'm really looking forward to it. And as I sit there, I'm going to feel grateful for the things that are around me. Christians believe that God gave us absolutely everything. God created everything in the world. And whether you believe that, or whether you follow the Christian faith or a different faith, it's all about being grateful for the things that we have around us. And that's what I'm going to be this weekend. And that's what I want you to try and do. As you do the bird watch, I want you to sit and think, I'm warm inside, it's really lovely. I've done something really good by feeding the birds. I'm pleased with myself for doing that. And actually, I've got birds in my garden. How cool is that? That's amazing. I'm really grateful for having the birds in my garden. So there you go. Something to think, something to do, and something to think about, and something to feel over your weekend. Have a lovely weekend, guys. I will see you either in school on Monday, if you're coming in, or I will see you in an assembly. Take care, be good, see you soon.